Okay, well, hello there, and welcome back to our Supreme Commander Forged Alliance Forever cast. Today, in this video, we'll be showcasing match 2 out of 2 in terms of, well, kind of the basics of really building up your macro economy inside these multiplayer games. So, today we are playing on Theta Passage, a map that we've seen before. And notably, this map has a very short amount or small amount of reclaim in the form of just a few bits of rock here and here. And here, with the only key exception of being this bridge thing, or not necessarily this bridge thing, but this, how you say, I suppose, rock formation in the middle of the map. So what I wanted to showcase in this match here was kind of controlling the tempo of the match and really kind of transitioning your economy. I'm playing as the Seraphim, going up against a Sibrin opponent. Sibrins having the advantage in raiding, whereas the Seraphim have a distinct shortage of units in the same sense that they don't produce a lot of tanks, but their vehicles can definitely win on in a 1v1 against any other factions and stuff. So that said, one of the things is that we want to control the pace as to how we want to develop the game. Don't overextend, grab points that we can't control, and well, try to keep production up, build that critical mass of units, and just kind of send them in and do some really damaging pushes like that. So early on inside the game, one of the things that you can do with the Seraphim units is that their Selene T1 combat scout is actually cloaked if you put them onto hold fire, and I really do like the spread of units here. So I built 6 at the very start of the game, taking a look at our radar coverage on the map here. I effectively can see any single location when barring that little gap there of troops coming in and out. And of course, with our units having radar support or radar and cloaking, these units are slated to stay here for a very long time. So I'm keeping eyes out for anything coming around near to my base. I'm getting production going, and again, building just kind of going from one land factory into that hydrocarbon power plant because it's so close to my base, and then tearing up from there. Seeing so it's worth 5 power generators, I think it's definitely worth the mix. So the notable thing here is that even one thing that you should know firstly is that the enemy commander can see the cloaked Selines, but engineers and things can't, and there's a way to stop this. But if you do put your Selines here on top of the mass deposits, your enemies will not be able to grab them. So you know, it really depends on kind of, I suppose, how much game knowledge does your opponent have. But you can alt right click and move through these. You can actually reclaim the combat scouts, even though they're not wreckages or anything, even though they are cloaked. So that's kind of how you counteract that. But in some of these, I would say low tier games that I'm currently playing in, not a lot of people seem to know this, and it is quite deadly in the sense that I've effectively stopped this engineer from going here, and he must be going like, what the heck is going on with that engineer, and he decides to move himself to grab the other point instead. So that is point number 1. This point number 2 here is because of kind of how low density our units are in terms of in terms of this Sibrin versus Seraphim game. I decide to kind of ball up, try to take my natural portion of the map, which is effectively everything on this side of the valley here and here, before pressing forwards. And that's kind of just playing into not overextending, grabbing what you can, and kind of pressing forwards from there. But taking a look at my econ from it, I am slightly behind in terms of mass, and of course I do not have anything stored up. So I try to grab some mass off the terrain here. And again, playing against Sibrin over here with low unit density, and I think this is just in general how my playstyle at the very least developed when I am behind, is that I want to stabilize the front. I want to use my solid core unit to try to make whatever pushes I can. And in this case, I know that the Sibrin light assault bots, they're no match for my Tech 1 medium tanks and or straight up brawl, but he will have a lot more of them. So I decided to move with my commander here. I want to make some pushes. I don't really care if my tanks died, because so long as I can secure this area, I am going to grab some nice reclaim out of all things to throw back into my economy. So I decided to do that here, grab a few of those tanks and suck them back up and put them back to use in some other matter here. It's a good thing that we got the engineer pick off too. That would have saved us that would have saved us some more stuff up there. So, overall, I mean, during this battle, I'm primarily looking for just kind of picking up wreckages off of the terrain right here. I would have liked to cause a few more, but unfortunately, nothing kind of developed over there. Nevertheless, I mean, because I'm pushing forwards, because I'm starting to build up some reclaim from pushing upwards, I decided to get some more land factories, get some more tanks produced, and out and onto the field, really, to try to make some pushes here. So, at the time being, I figured I'd go for at the very least, this mass reclaim point with some of my forces moving through the valley here. With my commander and all, I don't think my opponent has the strength to make any major plays, so again, I try to pick off whatever I can, primarily for the purposes of just honestly reclaiming it. So I grabbed the reclaim point, the destroyed reactor or mass extractor, and just anything I can find, really. I'm just trying to pick up everything on the map at this point. So my forces do make it across, which is quite nice. Little minor raid. And I do want to make sure that I don't move that combat scout. I want to keep it exactly where it is. I want to take out that mass extractor, and I want to pull back up over here. I don't necessarily know why there were assault bots moving up here. I suppose he was trying to do some raiding, but what I wanted to do was, again, take out that mass extractor, reclaim it, seeing as how... I was under the impression that T1 mass extractors actually generate more reclaim than the actual unit Rex, but as it turns out, it looks like they're only worth about 16 mass. Nevertheless, at this point, I mean, things are looking pretty good. I think it was kind of a mistake for him to close off the valley here, because like, seeing as how he's playing as Sybren, I think he would have been better at leaving that open and doing some raiding inside the bottom corner of the map. In fact, at this point, all of my units are actually rallied to come over here because I'm so afraid of some major attack coming over here and doing some damage. With my scout, I noticed that he had a completed radar system built here, so I decided to pick that off. Those things only have 10 hit points, so the Selene can handle that quite easily. Nevertheless, I'm still very, very afraid of those raids coming when I have my army primarily committed to the top of the map. So I built a turret here, arguably not necessarily inside the best position, seeing as how from the looks of it, yeah, that's not going to shoot anything anytime soon, given the terrain features there. But I am fairly glad that he decided to commit to a battle right over here, and through this I managed to get quite a few nice pickups on a few units. Primarily again absorbing some of these, primarily again just trying to grab some of the mass there. So now, one of the things that I probably should have changed during this game was that I was building a lot of anti-air turrets, seeing as how I didn't really have air up until this point. I think that was a bit of a mistake in the sense that I could have had, you know, 6 more tanks during that time, and if I had 6 more tanks, I think I would have been a little bit better off. Over here, I decided to put some pressure on his commander. His commander's a little bit thinner than mine, so ideally, if I'm able to do some damage early on, I'll be able to keep him back off in the inside the later portions of the game, so I decided to do that. He seems like, yeah, he's going for the mass as well here, which is absolutely fine. Built some interceptors during the mix here from my air base, so I managed to get that out fairly fast to counter his bombers here and there. And again, for kind of grabbing map control, I'm getting, I have this one turret here, but eventually I get one somewhere around this side of the map as well, and I think it comes sometime after I get this radar. So yeah, overall that's pretty well. Nice Selene here. He has 3 engineers trying to build this thing. Nobody knows exactly what is going on with that. So up here, I'm making some plays with my commander. Arguably, I probably should have pulled him back a little bit sooner, just to kind of skirt that red ring around a couple of the light assault bots. Not necessarily committing all too much towards that. The main reason for that is because I want to level up my commander. He's been a very valuable combat unit here so far, grabbing mass and dealing damage. So if we do give him veterancy bonuses, and the veterancy comes from that 12 out of 20 there. If you kill 20 units, you get second, or no, I believe first unit tier of veterancy, giving you, I think, slightly more attack damage. But the main thing that I'm getting it for is the health regeneration, which helps keep him inside the field here. So now my opponent decides to kind of commit to a brawl here. I think I've reached a critical mass amount of tanks here that I'm able to deal with this army, which seems to be much denser in a fairly reasonable fashion, which is quite nice. Fairly fast fashion. taking a look at our production back here, looks like the Seraphim factories, they do take on a like slightly more mass, I think. If I do remember correctly, my UEF factories did take about 3 mass on average to build things, but at the end of the day, that might just simply be, say for example, UEF tanks taking less time to build than compared to these tanks here. So either way, we move forwards here, grab some of the kills, artillery comes down. Seraphim artillery is an incredibly devastating unit here. If those blasts come down on the light assault bots, they'll take them down on one hit. Very, very high damage artillery. Unfortunately, they don't fire very fast, but I suppose you can't have it all. Anyhow, at this point inside the game, what I want to do is I really want to secure this giant ball of mass just kind of sitting on the ground there. I mean, taking a look at our production, during this time, I mean, I'm upgrading my factories to T2 because I know I need some sort of an edge. T2 assault bots from Seraphim are incredibly good units in the same sense that they have long range, high DPS, and they move very, very fast. So if I do get some of those out, I don't know if they have arguably, say, a lot of health compared to other T2 units, but against those light assault bots, those light assault bots will take forever trying to kill them. So that with that kept in mind, I decided to kind of go for an early up here, try to grab some of these factories and tear them up. Once you get the land factory HQ, tearing up the rest of the factories take a smaller amount of time. That is one of the balancing changes in the Forged Alliance Forever pack here, or multiplayer, I suppose, client slash rebalancing slash overall game. So yeah, that's one thing I decided to do. The bad thing is that tearing up or teching up here, I do have to take one factory out of production. The other thing is that T2 units have a much slower build time compared to T1 units. So keeping that in mind, I do need to stall off my opponent here for the time being. Taking a look at this assault bot right here, it has 2,500 health. And it is able to quite literally stand inside a blob of these assault drones and come out alive with 6 kills in the work. So yeah, quite a devastating thing indeed. Now, I see my opponent's making quite a bit of a raid play on some of my mass points here. And the thing here is that I'm not going to chase his units around. I'm going to take out the first one. I'm going to send a couple of tanks to deal with whatever broke through, because I need to close this gap. I don't necessarily need to kill the units raiding with one force, because that's not necessarily my priority. My priority is to stop any other units from breaking through otherwise. So that's what I do here. I probably should have microed this tank better, seeing as how he... Don't really know if there is friendly fire there, but from the looks of it, he was shooting through the mass extractor into the blob there. Either way, conversion is in effect. We get 2 of these factories to build some of those lovely T2 units, and I have a couple more in progress, with one being beamed up here. So in the mix of things, I get my T2 units to press ahead here, seeing as how they do have a higher range than those T1 units. I'm able to grab a few nice pickoffs there with my air factory, I think, currently producing engineers to grab Reclaim. Once I get a couple of engineers out, I'm going to switch that to interceptor production again, seeing as how none of us are currently playing the air game by very much. And once I get a couple of interceptors there, I think we will kind of secure the land advantage here for quite some time. So he decides to run his units into mine. I decide to pull back to the point defense, which currently has 6 kills, making short work of anything that presses through here. And throughout this process, I really want to grab that commander pickoff here. And I was actually quite surprised at this point. He seemed to have a lot more health regen than what I had expected. So checking him for upgrades here. Not necessarily a lot of upgrades, but it looks like his commander has 57 kills on the block, which probably helps out by... we are on equal veterancy level, so it looks like that's actually... yeah. That's not too bad, actually. That means both of our commanders should be regenerating at about equal rates. But taking a look at our commander from last time, we did get a level of veterancy up and running. So keeping that in mind, I mean, we have 1,300 or or 13.8k of health compared to what we had before, which was I think 11.5, definitely less. So yeah, that is looking pretty good. At this point, I don't know why I decided to push on that mass reclaim point, seeing as how whoever really controls the middle of this battlefield here controls the fight. Either way, I bought myself some breathing room, so I decided to pick up some of the stuff on the ground and keep a production floating. Just, you know, kind of 100 or 200 minerals. Not minerals, but mass to keep things working pretty well there. Right, in the meantime, my my assault bots actually outrange his commander, though they don't necessarily do too much damage against yeah, these commander units, unfortunately. So when his swarm of light assault bots come in, I do have to pull back. And I think somewhere right around here we do see the importance of having overcharge of your commander. So overcharge is a spendable ability that you have on your commander. If you use it, you spend 5,000 energy, you shoot out the equivalent of a cannon shot round at whatever targets you wish. And as you saw there, it just kind of obliterates an entire T2 and up to T3 unit in one shot. So quite deadly there. So yeah, if you're kind of, I suppose the takeaway from that is that if you are out-teched, be sure to use some of those, or be sure to build a single energy storage, so you go from 4,000 to I think 6,000, and yeah, quickly use that ability to try to pick off the limited amount of T2 units there are currently on the map. So I do get a nice raid going upwards here with a very small contingent of troops. Taking a look at the efficiency of these T2 assault bots, one of these things are taking out just about 25 to 26 units there, so very, very deadly. And the main thing again is I want to pull his forces off of this field. I simply just want the reclaim here. We're doing a decent job of grabbing this ball of reclaim, right? We have half of that done, have some of these engineers which will be sent up shortly to grab some reclaim, and my opponent grabs a couple of tanks of his own to try to push some pressure there. I decided to go for a minor raid on the side of the map here, but as it turns out he did have units to counter it. He saw that I had actually less units than him in that gap, so he decides to push through here for another push. And there's another one going to the side of the map. There is that turret I was speaking about earlier. And what we'll see shortly is that this turret will be able to fend off a fair amount of his troops. Right, so in the process here, during the middle of the fighting, seeing as how there's just an absolute ton of mass on the map, I decided to build a couple more factories. Now in the back here, in the back of my base, I don't know honestly whether or not this would have been a fight that I should be necessarily teching up my mass extractors with, but from the looks of things, he only has one teched up as well, so that's not too bad. I have one right here. So overall, I mean, despite being kind of behind in resources, he has a lot of power for some reason. We're able to hold off with those T2 units, and with the field of mass right here, we don't necessarily need to build up into any more mass extractors for the time being. So the one thing though is that right here, whilst I press a couple of those assault bots south, I noticed that his commander isn't necessarily in that great of a position, so I decided to press forwards here with my assault bots and my commander, and what I'm going for here is an easy pick-off. I want to take out that commander and hopefully end this game, seeing that his units are out of position. Now, I don't think my opponent here saw that he was out of position there, though that nice veterancy buff did help him out. As you might have noticed, his health was in the red and jumped back up into the yellow, seeing as how he did grab another level of veterancy, buffing his health up to, yeah, 15 or 150k. My commander was, I think, already at that level. It looks like his commander actually overtakes mine in terms of health, in terms of veterancy soon enough, seeing as how we're at 149.49. Either way, the brawl goes down between my commander and his. I grabbed some of my units here that I think I was rallied to this location. I decided to push them forwards as well. So at this point, what I'm thinking about is I need to get a single energy storage right away, so I can use overcharge as well. If I stick close to his commander, at the very least, this will be a draw. Once I get that single mass storage up, I should have enough to quickly recharge up to full energy to be able to get off that single overcharge shot. But at the end of the day, it doesn't look like that was actually needed. To give you an idea of how much veterancy helps, he was regenerating about half of those shots every single time. But at the end of the day, the commanders brawled it out. Mine was able to grab one extra shot there, and leading to, well, GGVP. So, I hope you guys enjoyed these two, I would say, macro games here. Arguably, I probably should have queued up a few more engineers just to kind of suck these fields dry of mass. Probably should have sent one over here and one over here. And one of the things that could have helped with that is to just, occasionally tab through Shift Control, take a look at what's on the map, and yeah, see what's there. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this, well, the second one-off cast for Forged Alliance Forever here. If you guys are interested in this, I'd highly recommend picking it up on Steam Store. Actually, it's about $379 Canadian dollars, so I'd imagine it's actually cheaper for the people in the States. So yeah, it's definitely worth your while. I mean, there's it's literally the price of a coffee in some places, so that is that.